Hey, thanks for stopping by my neck of the woods. I'm the gig geezer in Wood Lane, and when I'm out there driving, I'm out there to make some money. I want to help you maximize your gig hustle.
In my most recent Gig Geezer segment, I made a quick reference to, in terms of preparation in terms of vehicle maintenance and repair, that you should also make it a practice of working on and maintaining good credit. And then I alluded to the fact that, using a personal example, I had to purchase two vehicles or make transaction of two vehicles within a span of a month, back in July of this year. Now, that's really going to be the purpose of this segment of the Gig Geezer, and that is to just give some tips and some pointers and some observations on what can help a gig economy driver, gig economy worker, to purchase their next vehicle, if you've not had to deal with something like that. Well, in the past year or so, in the past couple of years, I've seen people make postings about that, asking questions on are they able to get vehicles as a gig economy worker. Well, there was a time when being a gig economy worker was almost probably likened to being a stripper. And that's not a good example, but I'll say this based on having worked at a car lot. A stripper makes her money or his money mostly cash. And it was my experience as a car salesperson that most strippers could not buy air. They did not have credit profile, or they had very bad credit. And you cannot prove cash as income. So basically, they would have someone, a benefactor, that's making it very nice, if you know what I'm saying, a benefactor who would probably step up and make a purchase on their behalf. There was a time not long ago when if you appeared to rent an apartment, or you tried to buy a house or even a car, being a 1099, you really went through a lot of scrutiny by lenders and people whom you may rent from. In fact, the scrutiny was as far as you having to show tax returns, bank statements, and even short of your birth certificate. But and then can you imagine being a gig economy worker? But as the gig economy has become very much more part of society and the lexicon of society, lenders and people whom you may rent from, they've also have kind of evolved as well. Most have. You still have some places that kind of still look down upon gig economy workers and for that matter 1099s. Their biggest argument is that you cannot substantiate income. Your income is inconsistent, and so we'd rather not deal with it. So they look down upon gig economy 1099 people as somewhat of a risk. Well, but this segment is going to speak of how you can purchase a vehicle, how being a gig economy worker is not from a financial world sense carrying a scarlet letter. No, that is not the case. Personally, as I alluded to in a previous Gig Geezer segment, I had to make purchase of two vehicles within a span of 3 weeks this year. In fact, it is the third vehicle that I am now financing altogether. And those three vehicles that I am financing all are based on gig economy money. Now, in my particular case, the fact that I'm much more further along in life, I have a well-established credit history. And but also, I've been up, I've been down, I've been up, I've been down. And as I mentioned in the previous Gig Geezer segment, it appears now that I'm on an upward trajectory once again. And so, fortunately, the gig economy has put me in a position where I've been able to make those transactions and maintain them. Now, what is it that you need to do? What are the tips and pointers? I'm going to talk along these lines. The first thing I would recommend you do is, if you're not not doing this, get a copy of your credit report. The credit reports that are generated, at least for consumer purposes, are based on the Vantage 3.0 scoring system. That Vantage 3.0 scoring system is going to be a little more consumer friendly, and the score may be higher than what the banks or the lenders actually recognize. The reason being is that the lenders use a different system. They use the Fico system. That is the Fair Isaac Company. I think that's what it is, Fair Isaac Company. That's what FICO means. And there are various forms of FICO scores, but the three primary FICO scoring systems that are used are FICO 5, FICO 8, and FICO 9. The FICO 5 score is the one that those that are going to issue credit cards, that's the one that they use. The FICO 8 score is the one that car lenders use. They're all weighted. These scores are weighted differently, so that means that certain things are more important to them than others. But by and large, those scores can be fairly close. It's going to be no more than a 10-15 point difference in that score. The FICO 9 score is the one that is used by mortgage lenders. That one is going to be the most stringent and the most scrutinized one, and that score tends to be lower than the other two FICO scores. That's just the way it is. In fact, when you think about it, buying a house is much harder, but then again, I may go as far as to say renting is far tougher than buying a house. But having a credit report in hand is going to at least give you a sense for what you need to work on, or give confirmation of what you already got going for you. Now, rule of thumb, you want to make sure that your credit card balances, if you have credit cards, are as low as they can be, because the lower your credit card balance, or what they call credit usage, that's going to improve your score. Now, if you have what they call derogatories, bad marks, like collections or something like that, well, obviously that's a work in progress, but that is not going to be the kiss of death in terms of getting a vehicle. The main thing that's going to be, the main thing though, is the credit score, and then proof of income, and then also credit history. Credit history in terms of, do you have high credit and all. But I know from experience, having worked in the car business as a car salesperson and having put together deals and all, that is not the end all, be all, end all. I've seen people get vehicles with basically no credit, and without a cosigner, in fact. So it can be done. But I will say this though, rule of thumb, if you have a 680 or higher credit score, being a 680 or higher FICO score, that is almost an automatic. It is basically an automatic approval, and you don't have to show proof of income. Now, you still can be approved without having to show proof of income, literally. But if you have to show proof of income, then you need to, depending on what time of the year, if it's at the beginning of the year, like between February and April, you can show your 1099 statement. But then again, as a backup, what you may want to have is 3 months of bank statements. Now, here's something that this is just a personal practice. Now, because of me being an insurance agent, I also have business accounts. I have multiple business accounts, and rule of thumb, what I've done is my 1099 money goes into one account, and then if I need to make payments and all that, it's set up where I make payments from another account. That is to separate my other random spending and all from money coming in, and it makes it easier for somebody to determine, my income if they have to count my income. Basically, the last time somebody's had to check my income is when I rented a place. In fact, moved into the place that I'm at now, renting, this past summer. I mentioned about the two vehicles that I purchased. The first vehicle that I actually purchased was through Carvana. And I know of other gig economy drivers who have purchased vehicles through Carvana as well. I think that's probably going to be the easiest place that you can go through to actually purchase a vehicle. Now, Carvana has certain checks and balances that they go through in terms of verification of who you are and so forth, and then, of course, verification of your insurance, but I think the process is much easier than actually dealing with a car lot. The problem with a car lot is that there's always the possibility that you go to a car lot, you may deal with an F&I person who then fans your profile to 18 different lenders, and now your score is down 20 points. And that actually happened to me this summer as well, where I actually lost like 15 points on my score thanks to this guy who that's just his way of doing things. Now, the person who I actually signed off on was a guy who I've known for like the past 20 years, and whom I dealt with in a couple other vehicles that I'd made transactions for in recent years. So Carvana, that's going to be one pull. Whereas if you go to a car lot, they may pull you to multiple places, and now you're having to deal with ways of getting those credit pulls off your credit profile. They say that what we're doing is shopping you around the best place. No, that's not. They shouldn't have to do that, but they do. That said, you can't go to a car lot. I mean, and you may be in a situation where you can't go to a car lot, or you can go to an actual bank. But I think the easiest process, where you may not have to deal with folk hemming and hauling and all that stuff, try Carvana. That's just my recommendation, my opinion, and just take it for what it's worth. What else can I share in terms of a gig worker getting a vehicle? Credit balance, credit usage balances, keep that in check. Derogatories, make sure that you're paying your bills on time and all, because one late payment could cost you 30, 40, 50 points. I mean, and that's not cool. And then it takes you the next who knows how many years and all before you're able to turn that around. So as I mentioned, so what you want to do is make sure that your bills are paid on time and all, and stay on top of that, because one late payment could cost you big time. It can cost you in terms of years, possibly, of getting that late payment removed, and also time in terms of getting your score back up to where you think it should be. It's easy for it to drop, but it's hard for it to go up. I don't know why it's like that, but that's the way it is. You're penalized for things that sometimes may be beyond your control. So hopefully this tidbit of information, these tips and pointers, will help you in your next car purchase. I am Inwood Lane, and may your hustle continue.
Thank you for checking out this segment of The Gig Geezer. If you like the content that's been provided, hey, hit that subscribe button, and also give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or useful information that you'd like to pass on to The Gig Geezer, I can be reached at giggeezer3.5 @gmail.com.